actor, director, producer, right? The proliferation of tools is such that we can all make our own stuff, not just TikTok and things like that. You could make narrative films and commercials, what we're going to focus on today, with everything. And before we start, I'll just give you guys, the early people, the real secret is to just shoot shit all the time. Yeah, with your phone, with Barbie dolls, with your dog and your nephew. Throw it in Premiere, DaVinci, Avid. I don't care. Final Cut, iMovie. The tools, the names of the tools and the brands I'm not loyal to. It's just whatever you can master and see if your stuff edits together. That's how you're going to be a better storyteller, by flexing that muscle. So if you're looking to get into anything, that's my ride, you need to shoot all the time to get your 10,000 hours. You need to know if the stuff you're shooting on the weekend edits together to tell a story. It doesn't even have to look pretty at first, but the more you do it, the better you'll get. And that's my tip for the day. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Applause. Applause right off the bat. What time is it?
3 o'clock, about 2 minutes after.
Matish wants to wait. Do you mind if I start since we have a good crowd? There's plenty to go through. I kind of put you on the spot. I got the microphone. You're back there. Are you,
It's fine. We can do it.
was someone going to introduce me? Was Lynette going to introduce me? Because she probably has something written and it's flattering, and I don't get this all the time, folks. I wore the scarf, so you know I'm a director. Lynette, everybody, pretend you didn't see me.
First and foremost, thank you so much for being here this afternoon. We're so excited that everybody can be here for the 6th Annual Chandler International Film Festival. Woo! I hope that you've all had a chance to check their schedule, because there really is a lot going on over the next few days. This gentleman is a wonderful collaborator. He is a professional friend. I actually met him on a red carpet a few years ago, and for whatever reason, we hit it off right out of the gate. If you take a look at him, he is, for some reason, I have nicknamed him Chewy. He is my Chewy, and I love him to death. He is a very accomplished director, sometimes stand-up comic, sometimes, and very, very insightful, and he loves to share his knowledge with all of, just everybody. You are such a giving person, and everyone here is going to learn so much from you today. So, without further ado, Mr. Jordan Brady.
Wow. Thank you, Lynette. That was wonderful. I do it for the hugs. Lynette, everybody. Keeping the festival. And Matish in the back with the festival. 6 years. Congratulations. Okay. I'm Jordan Brady. I'm going to focus on commercials. If something doesn't make sense, raise your hand, and we can derail the whole thing and do a Q&A. Okay? I'm down for whatever. I picked 3 presentations that I have that make up part of this commercial directing boot camp. The next one is March 5th. I'm obligated to say that. It's in Los Angeles. Limit 15 filmmakers. It always sells out. There are 6 spots left. But this first one, I thought I would take you through how a director gets a job in commercials. Interesting to everybody? Okay, some nods. Okay. First of all, there are 2 kinds of people. People that are on time and people with excuses. And I do seminars and boot camps and workshops, and inevitably, someone comes in late and goes, sorry, there was a, doesn't matter. Why do I start it off this way? Because if you're the director on a film set, on a commercial set, theater, short film that you're doing with your friends, if you're late, you're setting the tone for your cast and crew. You don't really care about time. You're not punctual. That call sheet doesn't mean as much as it does when you're on time. And my kids grew up and they're in the business now, and they know that being on time means 10 minutes early. 10 minutes early. I say 15, but I'll go 10. 10 is good. We believe in magic. Everyone in this room showed up because whether you're an actor, director, writer, you believe that you can make magic. You can leave your normal chores and responsibilities behind and play make-believe and hopefully get paid for. Okay? In a commercial, you want to make, as a director, I want to make it my own. I just don't want to break the script. Okay? Meaning, I get a script from an ad agency and I try to sprinkle herbs and spices in it. So it's the same, I'd say 87% of what the ad agency and the client USAA wanted to do, but I put my spin on it. So I'll show you a spot here.
Your father knows about saving money. Everything I'm wearing, I've had since college.
And I just saved on my car insurance for driving safe.
Auto insurance that flexes with you. Here's the fit. That's what we're made for.
Okay, 2 reasons I wanted to show you that. 1, I love when the dad says, peep the fit. Because I have millennials, and this was aimed at millennials, so I said to my millennial kids, what would the dad say? He wouldn't say, check this out. He says, peep the fit. So I was able to bring just little herbs and spices. The other reason I wanted to show you that is it's 15 seconds. If I were doing this with you all 5 years ago, I'd be showing you mostly 30-second commercials. The game is now 15 seconds, which means, and sometimes 6 seconds, which means your TikToks are relevant to a career in commercial directing. The shorter you can tell a story, I used to complain like an old man saying, turn the music down. How do you tell a story in 6 seconds? People are writing 6-second stories. The other thing about that spot, the storyboard had the dad wearing a shirt that said like drama queen or something on it, and it was in the first shot through the windshield with the daughter and the dad. Now this is a cartoonist that draws storyboards. And I said, hey, 2 things. Number 1, there's no car in 2022 where you can read someone's t-shirt shooting through the front windshield. The dash is there. Like, these are practical filmmaking things that the director has to go, your idea isn't going to work the way you're presenting it. Number 2, what if he is a drama queen? Why is that fun? Like, isn't in 2022 it not funny anymore to poke fun, like just because you're wearing sort of a feminine shirt or drama queen or whatever that means? Like, let's pick something else. That's a tired joke. And I don't want to get OK Boomer back on my work, right? And we did probably 5 of those in one day. Now this was a dream job for me because it was my voice. I was allowed to put my voice as a filmmaker. Why are you laughing already?
Like, do you mean you narrated it? Like, are you actually...
Oh, sorry. No, not my voice. My artistic voice. I was given a board that said people are pumping with confidence. So I told them how to pay attention to how they hold the pump and the innuendo that I was able to sprinkle in without changing a word of the script. I wrote a line for the woman in the minivan.
I'm pumping with confidence. I'm pumping with confidence too. My pumping didn't used to be this confident. Then I switched to Arco.
Why do I pump with confidence?
Because Arco Gas has a special additive that helps clean and protect my engine's critical parts.
He's pumping with confidence.
Pumping.
Confidence.
Pumping with confidence.
There's any grade of Arco Gas.
Are you pumping with confidence?
Take your confidence to the next level. Switch to Arco High Quality Gas.
So my pitch was, let's do a Viagra commercial. And that's how I got the gig. Now I had some other sort of spoofs on my reel. You're in the right place. Come on in.
Thanks.
What's your name?
Cheryl?
Cheryl. We all just finished sharing something very personal about ourselves, and it's your turn to come up and share a deep, dark secret with the group.
Let's see.
No, I'm kidding,
No,
please.
okay.
Oh, that's just some comedy.
Was that Kiko Ellsworth in there? Was that the Kiko, the actor in that commercial? Did you?
Kiko?
Yeah, the African American with the like.
Well, with his eyes, no. I don't think is that his name?
Yeah, it's Kiko. Yeah.
That's Kiko. I've only worked with him. He's devilishly handsome.
Eyes are like.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Kiko, and the woman that plays the wife, Sherry Ann Drakes, I discovered her in my commercial world in this spot. I've done no less than 11 commercials with her, including Valley Toyota a couple of times, because this is when you have actors that are professional friends or friends, and you know they deliver, put them in, bring them to the callback, and be open about it. Like, tell the agency or the client, go, this is a woman I work with all the time, she nails it. Don't try to hide it. The only time you don't tell them is like, my kids have auditioned, and I wait and see if they like them first. Like, oh, she has SpongeBob teeth. You know, I don't want to cast her. I'm like, that's my daughter. No, that didn't really happen, but you could see. Kiko, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bartender years ago when I was a waiter.
That's a small world. Yeah. Continuing on.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem. An ad agency, a woman that I had worked with when she was a copywriter, we did some just dog shit commercials for Hot Pockets over the years. She left the big agency, started her own company, female-owned agency in Dallas called 31,000 Feet. She called me through the magic of Facebook and said, I have a script for you. It's kind of your voice, right? My artistic voice. It's your sense of humor. And I still have to pitch on it. They don't just hand me the job. And this is that. And I think you'll see the connection between this and the first one.
What's that? I treated my yeast infection in 2 days with Finiclear. Kills more yeast than Monostat. It's all natural and organic. So instead of chemicals, my hoo-ha is full of joy. Finiclear. Joie de hoo-ha.
So you see I do commercials that are dick jokes and singing vaginas. And I bring it here to the Chandler International Film Festival. We have a 12-year-old here in the crowd. That's great. You look very young. That's all I'm saying. Young lady looks very young. So you can see, though, how an ad agency would go, oh, Jordan Brady's sensibility would be great to execute our spot. Couple of fun facts. Only male in the callback session. I'm the one that said we can't go yoga shorts and we can't go light blue or pink. We should go black because of revealing things. And we have to place the camera in certain areas that are tasteful. I think we kind of pulled it off. And the la 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 is the agency owner, my friend Christina. So what I'm trying to impart upon you is it can take years. Like, I've been doing commercials for 20 plus years. And it took 10 years to really find a voice. I wish I had an iPhone back in the day. I had a video camera, but it wasn't as easy to edit stuff. So you filmmakers should be shooting and editing to find what it is that makes your voice, like what is your point of view as a storyteller. And for you actors, the same thing. You should be meeting people after this seminar saying, I live in Chandler, I live in Gilbert, let's hook up, I'll shoot anything on the weekends. It's the only way to get better. You don't have to show anybody if it sucks. You just make more. Okay? Both the Arco and the Joie de Hoo-Ha got a lot of press, which is good for the agency. Those articles I skipped through were the trade publications, and the ad agency is the one that really gets the credit. You come on in, have a seat. Welcome to the Chandler International Film Festival. Don't be why are you late? Traffic. Yeah. Okay, I'll show you this guy. I love this commercial.
Welcome to the Taco Palenque Tour. To your left, ice cold beer and Mexican sodas. We offer free refills on our aguas frescas. And here we are at our world famous salsa bar. Our sauces are made fresh daily. They range from pico de gallo, red hot, I know it looks tempting, but we have rules here.
That wasn't there a minute ago.
Taco Palenque de sabor.
Okay, why do I love that? Because Enrique Leal has his own production company on the border in Texas. He has all these clients that he makes local commercials for, including that taco place, probably every 6 weeks to every month. And he's making a living as a filmmaker. He wanted to come to my boot camp. It's March 5th. It almost sold out, just letting you know. He wanted to come to my boot camp, and we got on the phone, and I said, don't do it. You don't want to work for big agencies. You want to work for your local dealers and restaurants, making mid-six figures with a huge house and buying pizzas and Slurpees for your kids. You don't want to work with an agency that's going to have you pitch on a project and cast a bunch of actors. He's calling his friends, and they're making those spots. And I think that's perfect. And I think his quality of life is far better in Brownsville or wherever it is, doing this, making money, rather than like moving to a bigger city and trying to compete with other filmmakers. So I just want to let you know that you can make a living as a filmmaker at any level. It's what suits your goal. Okay? So what are your goals? How much do you believe in yourself? Some people have a little self-doubt, like, I don't know, I'm not that good. I didn't go to film school. I didn't go to film school. You just figure it out. Where can you fit into the marketplace? You have to look at yourself in the mirror and look at the work you're making and look at the work that's on TV. So many people send me their fake Nike commercials, and it's their cousin and their girlfriend on a tennis court, and it's in the daylight, and there's concrete walls in the background and cracks in the tennis court, and they're like, I made it for Nike, and they put a Nike logo on the end. That won't compete. It's just fake. You practice. I'm glad you practiced. But if I want Serena, I want LeBron if it's a Nike commercial. So don't compete on that level. Pick what works for you and then work your way up over the years. Okay? Is this working with me over here? Okay, you guys can see? Question, yes?
I just have a quick, really important question. Those 4 questions, I think about 1, 2, and 4 every day when I wake up and I look in the mirror. Did you ask yourself those questions when you were on the journey, if you will?
I ask myself those questions all the time.
But when you first started out?
I did. Yeah, I didn't know to concretely write them out. I wasn't as specific. It's taken me years to, like, you're probably on an accelerated path, the trajectory. But yeah, I ask myself all the time, like, what's my goal? Typically once in the summer and once in the, late summer, it involves Joshua Tree and magical plants. And I go camping with my grown sons, and I explore what kind of magic I want to do. Where do I want to take my career? What Super Bowl spot do I want to do? What's coming up for 2022? So I always ask, like, where do I fit in the marketplace? And what kind of magic do I believe in? What kind of personal project do I want to do? Right? Great for pointing that out. The 3 R's. This is what the lens that I look at life through professionally. Why do I take a job? I take it for my reel. I take it for the revenue, because commercials pay well. Or I take it for the relationship. And sometimes you get that there's a Venn diagram, is that what they call this? You get that sweet spot in the middle where it's like the Valley Toyota spots, and I hope you stay at 6 tonight. They're great revenue. I always get something for my reel, and the relationships I have with Pat and the agency and the actors, it's just so much fun to do. So it's the trifecta. So to have a career that lasts a long time, you need to have those 3 R's to get the magical 4th R. Does anybody know what the magical 4th R is? Rent. That falls under revenue, but good answer.
I said rest.
Oh, rest. I thought you said rent. No. Who said that? Oh, you said. I'm looking at you like you said it. You're staring back at me like I didn't say it. Rest that's for when you're done. Recognition. That's pretty good. Respect is good. That goes along with recognition. No. Repeat business. Even if you were, let's say you were a plumber, right? Not even if. Let's say you're a plumber, and I love plumbers. I call the same plumber all the time. You find a good plumber, you stick with him. So as a filmmaker, if you have to go and find new people to hire you every time, you're going to be exhausted. You will need rest. But if you have repeat business because you deliver like kick-ass commercials and you give a good experience, you foster those relationships, and you're staying in business by making money, you get repeat business. Okay? I shot with Goldberg, the wrestler, for Dodge in November of 2019. He and I hit it off. I just shot with him again in November. The spots came out like 3 days ago. That's him literally choking me. I don't know if I mentioned it, but March 5th is the boot camp. Okay? I want to be known as a great director, and I want to be I'm known as fast, but I believe it is impossible to be fast, cheap, and great. That's a slide I stole from somebody else. Okay? So I want to be known as a reliable, creative problem solver that loves what I do, and I want to be known for doing comedy. Okay? This is sort of a calendar. The life cycle for a commercial director is, like, I pitched a project in September for the USAA that I showed you. I didn't shoot for a month later. I was prepping Dodge in the meantime. And then I went into Toyota and I did a boot camp. Okay? So who are you as a filmmaker? Right? So basically, a commercial project lasts 6 weeks at the most. Right? So as a filmmaker, you start honing in on what you want to do now. This is actually really important. You can do anything you want. You can do a horror movie and a romantic comedy movie, and then you can do your documentaries. Great. But in commercials, pick a box and master that box. Because variety confuses the marketplace, right? There are exceptions to this rule, but I don't get like big pharmaceutical dramatic, commercials where there's like lifestyle, if it's an old interracial couple walking by the carnival, or they're on a swan out in the lake, a big, paddle boat, and there's a litany of these side effects underneath the montage of all that. I just don't get hired to do that because I'm not known for being in that box. I'm known for comedy, so I get singing vaginas. You missed the setup to that. I know that sounded kind of random, you guys coming in late. It was a whole thing. So how do directors get gigs? You get hired by your reel, It all comes down to the work. If you have a name like Jordan, they don't know if I'm a man or a woman until they Google, and then some still don't know, but it's based on your work, not your name, not even your reputation at first. Is your work appropriate for this assignment? So here's the world as we know it.
I'll shoot you an estimate as soon as I get back to the office. Hey, I can help you do that right now. That's right. Right. Yep, I'm the all-in-one management software built for small business. That's right. Help me with scheduling? Sure thing. Up top. That's right.
Payments,
That's right.
promotions,
That's right.
email marketing,
Almost there. Hold on. Wait for it. That's right.
manage my customer list.
Can do, will do. That's right.
Post on social media?
Hashtag Thrive, my friend. Get started for free at thrive.com.
Not hilarious, whimsical, right? But someone knew that I had done another little animated commercial for Qualcomm with a dragon and people, and I had some Happy Meals with Shrek and a person, so they knew I knew how to execute like a kind of whimsical little creature. Have you ever seen this on CNN? They played it a lot the last few years. My wife forbids High Thrive to be said in the house. It's so annoying. So, like, how does that come about? Okay, well, Thrive is a company with a client, or they're the client, and they have an agency called Publicis, and then there's sales reps that have their feelers out for what assignments are coming out. And the sales reps, who are like my pimp, they rep the company that I was with. I actually was part of this company, Super Lounge, a production company, and I was on the roster of the company. And so they showed my stuff to the publicist people, who then said, we like Jordan, here's a backup director, and they show it to Thrive. I got the job. So for my actors in the room, it's kind of like auditioning. And if they didn't like me, I'm not going to take it personal and go cry. I'm like, okay, they picked a different flavor of director to execute that commercial. This is the traditional way it works. So I just want people not to go out and say, oh, I'm going to make a Thrive commercial, put it on Instagram, try to sell it to Thrive, because they don't buy it. There's a whole marketing department, then their ad agency. The sales rep is usually the go-between between the production company and the ad agency. So for Kaiser Permanente, and this may be too deep in the weeds. Is this interesting at all? Okay. For Kaiser Permanente, they had an agency in Seattle called DNA. They skipped the sales rep. They skipped the pimp, went right to the executive producer, who called me as a freelance director and hired me. She's the executive producer at Kaboom, terrible name for a company, said, hey, Jordan Brady is a friend I know. He'd be great for this. Let's pitch him. And then I got on the phone. I pitched the job, and I won with DNA and the client, Kaiser Permanente. So that's the freelance model. Valley Toyota, which we're going to see tonight at 6 o'clock, their agency is Lane Terralever, and I've been working with them so long, they call me directly, skipping over the pimp, skipping over the EP, executive producer, and I produce it through my company, True Gentleman Industries. So that's the best way to do it because it's so direct. I'm working directly with the ad agency. My wife did a series for Bumble. They had a client they were their own agency, their own production thing. They still went to a production company and they hired my wife, and it's called Pure Corazon. It's about Latinx people using Bumble. It's really cute. And lastly, Qualcomm was the client. They went to McCann. McCann called me sort of that traditional way. And the reason I have that slide is because that's where the money is. The money is when there is an ad agency in the middle between you, the filmmaker, and the client. If the client's calling you directly, it's probably some little project for digital. It's probably some little contesty, hey, we're going to hire a director. It's going to be a fun little passion project. The real campaign dollars are when they follow this formula, client to big agency, picking a director. So if you start now, just know that's where you want to end up. So I always say, God bless the ad agency. Okay? I'm going to skip a few of these. If you get a chance to work at an ad agency, take it. As a filmmaker, you would be like an embedded spy, and you would learn how they hire directors beyond the seminar. Questions over here?
I don't know if this is applicable, but I just wanted to see, like, is that kind of similar to when directors are, like, for example, HBO was looking for, like, up-and-coming directors. Do you feel like having an agency in the middle between their, represented director and the studio or streamer or whatever is better for the filmmaker in the end, or, like, directly connecting to the brand? That's like what you're saying with commercials.
You're asking if HBO is looking for emerging directors.
Right.
Is it better to have an agent there?
Is it more valuable for the director to have an agent because that's like more beneficial for them financially? I don't know if that's
So no, it's a great question, and I happen to only know because my wife is a female filmmaker. She's a Latina, and she's been in these diversity programs that are also like looking for emerging directors. And having an agent had nothing to do with it. In fact, it was better because she didn't do the HBO, but she did Sony Pictures for their television program and like a diversity program. And they wanted to talk directly to the filmmakers. But understand that what I'm talking about, I'm in a whole different solar system. Like commercials aren't Hollywood. So that's why I'm sharing this, because this is so different than if you want to direct for HBO or you want to do an episode for a Netflix show, you have to shoot a 20-minute, something that looks like a television show to say that you can tell that story. Conversely, I'm saying you better learn how to tell a 15-second story so that ad agencies can hire you, right? And in that case, the ultimate goal is to get to an agency. There are still clients around this area that will want to talk to a filmmaker directly, and she has her own production company, and you can make money and practice while you earn. Any other questions at this point? Yes.
So one of the first slides, you were on the roster as a director. Would that be something that you just created your demo reel and submitted online, or do you have to go through like a talent agency to get on their roster?
That's a great question. Does the director need a talent agency or an agency to get on the roster? No. No, I don't have an agent. If I did, the agent would only focus on TV or get me to pitch a movie. The director is her own agent, manager, producer, hype man. You have to find these companies, put a reel together, and send it in. And, jumping ahead in the presentation, don't put a montage. Do you know how many directors send me their reel, and it's the guy coming out slow-mo from the fire, and I go, oh, he shot fire. It's someone on a horse. It's a couple arguing. It's a close-up of a beer bottle. And it's a montage set to some song that was popular last summer. You know what that says to me and an ad agency and a producer? Oh, I still don't know if they can tell a story. It's a montage. You got cool shit. Okay, where's the story? Where's the 15-second beginning, middle, and end with a logo on the end that says, this filmmaker can tell a story that sells a product? So that's what you want to do. It's not even about the best shots all the time. That answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Can I ask?
Follow-up question. Yeah, sure.
It's sort of on the flip side for actors. I don't know if it's advised against. Yes, we should have a talent agency, but would you ever recommend an actor to go directly to the ad agency as opposed to casting or?
Actor going directly to ad agency? Maybe in Chandler, Gilbert, Phoenix, Tempe. Maybe if you had a relationship with a strong reel and you needed the revenue. The 3 R's. If you have the relationship, you can ask anybody anything. If you don't, you're some wingnut calling an ad agency looking to be in a commercial. And think of it like this. The commercial, for everyone involved, is kind of a transaction. Meaning, Valley Toyota needs to shoot in November because it's going to air the end of January throughout the whole year. So everybody's working around that one thing. Now this actor sends me her reel and I go, oh, that's great. I'm focused on Toyota. Oh, she does acrobatic stuff. Oh, great, great. I'll remember that. I won't remember that. So you have to be in the right place at the right time. With that said, I think if you consistently were sending your stuff like, hey, gentle reminder, all that's cool. But I wouldn't put a lot of effort into that. I'd rather see you making cool stuff and putting it out there and letting people come to you and publicizing your own stuff. Okay? Any other questions? Yes.
This might be kind of a different direction. You kind of alluded to some of this, or it made me think of it. What about spec commercials?
Spec commercials.
Because, literally, this is something where I'm just like, oh, maybe I should get a little bit of experience. And I have these ideas that come to me, and I want to make them, but, I know that's not for me, that's not necessarily, my process that I want to do, but I have these ideas, pretty easy to make. Again, not that that's the end goal, but, are they ever successful, or how would you go about having someone see it and actually maybe buy it?
No, I'm with you. On March 5th in Los Angeles at Commercial Directing Boot Camp, there is a 90-minute chunk on spec spots. Does anybody not know what a spec commercial is? Okay, so spec as in speculative, meaning You're not getting paid to do it, and you're going to fork over money to do it. And spec spots are probably the most potent way to get seen if you don't have anything. How are you going to get hired to do a commercial if you've never done a commercial? So the answer is you make a spec commercial, or what we call a spec spot. The number one rule of spec spot is it cannot look like a spec spot. Because if it looks and stenches like a spec spot with your cousin and your girlfriend on the tennis court, and then the logo for Nike fades up for 4 seconds, because Nike just cuts to it for 19 frames of a second, you've given away that you're an amateur, right? But you have to go through shitty spec spots to learn. So yes, make spec spots. And to cut your losses, I always tell people, put a tourniquet on your expenses. So shoot it with the iPhone and see if it makes sense. Edit it on iMovie or wherever. I have Premiere on my phone I can edit with. Study the commercial like you're going to make a spec spot for. But forget about selling it to Campbell Soup, because they have an agency with a marketing department and a sales department and the media buyers, and the client has people. They don't want to buy the rando spec spot for Campbell Soup. Even when you figure out to make it look exactly like a Campbell Soup spot. You would use the spec spot to send to agencies, to send to production company executive producers, and say, I'm a new commercial director. You would use it as a female filmmaker to send it to some of these initiatives that would give you a mentor, to give you a grant to make something. You may end up remaking the shitty spec spot you did on the iPhone with a real crew. And I always tell people, when you put it on Vimeo, don't say Campbell Soup spec spot. Because you send me the link and I click on Vimeo and it says Campbell Soup spec spot. And I go, oh, this is going to suck. It's a spec spot. But if you say Campbell Soup 30 seconds, or Campbell Soup, Mama Came Home, whatever you make up some name for it. Now I'm going, oh, I want to see this Campbell Soup spot. And I watch it, and it's beautiful filmmaking, and it's backlit, and steam coming out the soup pipe and all that, and Grandma comes in. Now I'm going, wow, that's a real spot. And I call you up. Hey, I saw your spot. I loved it. What agency was that? Okay, now you're at the crossroads. That little bird named Integrity lands on your shoulder and says, tell the truth. And you go, well, that was a spec spot. Or the evil raven of deceit says, lie. And you go, oh, that was Campbell Soup. Always tell the truth, except about the budget. So spec spots are great to make. I'm going to, okay. Did you see right before that it flashed, put yourself in a box, and I talked about that. Anybody seen one of my favorite movies, Baby Driver? It's so good. I mean, that opening sequence and everything. So think of your career as an actor, but especially as a director. You don't want to be the Uber driver. Because if I call an Uber right now, I don't care who it is, right? It could be Jake, it could be Muhammad, it could be Tisha, it could be Susie. I don't give a shit. I just care, like, it's clean, they're going to be here quickly, and I get from point A to point B. You don't want to be that director. Hey, let's just get a director. We have a small budget. It's just someone who has a camera and a crew. Like, yes, you can make money like that. But I think you make more money when you're the Baby Driver. Like, we knew Kevin Spacey was creepy when he did Baby Driver. We didn't know all how creepy he was. But that character that Kevin Spacey played had to have the Baby Driver because he was the specialist. He did the one thing really great. So if I'm known for innuendo or, that kind of comedy, I'm fine. I want to be the Baby Driver of my niche. And I think as an actor, you're more open to versatile roles, right? Like Daniel Day-Lewis, he can play anything. But he still kind of has a lane, right? Like you know it when it's him. Okay, so variety is awesome. but it can hurt because you have lack of focus on your reel. And it confuses the marketplace. So try to master the one thing. Okay? So the sales rep is often an independent agent. She has multiple production companies, and each production company has multiple directors. So where do you fit in at a production company? It's like an actor signing with a talent agency. How many actors like you do they have? Why are they going to send you out for the audition? Or do they just send everybody to every audition? Right? So the company at the top, House of Representatives, represents all these production companies. Ridley Scott's company, Harvest, that's been around for a long time, Ruckus, Cut and Run is a edit house. But they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They have 12 companies. Each company has all these directors. So here's a sales rep and her short assistant. He's a little shorter. Maybe she's really tall. I just picked the clip art people. Okay? Let's say this sales rep has 4 production companies represented by the barns. Okay, well that barn has a bunch of red horses and a yellow donkey. That yellow donkey's kind of special. We know what she does. Then she has these other companies. They have different kinds of directors. I'm the Yellow Penguin. And then they have Ridley Scott's company with these 2 big gorillas and a couple other gorillas, a cocky hen, and I'm now within my barn trying to get the attention of people selling me. And then amongst the barns, I got to fight against the other gorillas. So you have to sort of know the marketplace and who you're getting in bed with when you go into business. There's also the executive producer that works on your behalf. Okay? So you want to have a relationship with the rep. You want to have a relationship. There's 3 different reps, 4 sometimes, Midwest, East Coast, West Coast, and Texas is like its own state. Literally and figuratively. Okay? So me, the Yellow Penguin, I have different reps around the country that work for me, and I keep those relationships. I foster them so that they'll send me out for work. I mentioned boot camp.
Юбилейная. О, юбилейная.
О, юбилейная. О, юбилейная. О, юбилейная. О, юбилейная. Что здесь происходит?
С 1913 года вкус печенья юбилейное собирает всех за столом.
I just show that because it's weird. I don't really have a lot to say about it. That's called an animatic. Have you heard that term? So the agency working for that, whatever that cookie company was, this was in Russia. The agency sent that, and someone said, we think your comedy would be good for the Ibanechka. And then you get on the phone, and you talk about how you would do that. And because the animatic is often tested, right? Like they go to focus groups and stuff. They go, just shoot it exactly like the cartoon. So I call it the almighty animatic, because like that tested so well that if we deviate from it, and I go, well, some of it's not like people can't walk like this, and a guy, like we have to figure out how the guy steps out of the picture frame and everything. I did not get the job. But sometimes that's what you'll see from an agency, and you'll have to pitch on that, and you'll have to give your take. So, okay, you can look at the rise of the freelance director. There's freelancedirectors.com. You don't have to be rep by a production company. You could just go to different websites, and people are posting about jobs. I had no success for about a year with them. It's all about the reel. It's about your relationships. The sales rep has relationships. The head of sales at your production company has relationships with ad agency people. The executive producer has her relationships. These are all about getting job opportunities. And the director should have her or his relationships. So you, independent of all those other people I just listed, must cherish the relationship you have with agency people, with producers, with your crew, with friends that helped you, with your uncle who financed the spec spot. And sometimes clients, but really clients are different. Clients don't really want to interface. I mean, the HBO thing is a little different if you call HBO a client. Like even Valley Toyota, you know, I don't interface with the dealers, right? I work with the ad agency. I work for them, okay? So guess what? They're all cool people. The ad industry is just full of people always coming up with ideas, right down to the last minute. You know, we get together, we go out, they're going to be at the screening tonight, some of the agency people, to see the doc at 6. We all have a good time together. So the director relationships, you want to choose an executive producer that is your partner. And I would say that if you're from this area, consider starting your own production company. It doesn't need to be more than a regular calendar that you share. You two are nodding together. You were here last night for Pat Finn's improv thing. Yeah. Look, especially now, people will say, I had a friend call me, hey Jordan, I have a job. It's a big 4-day shoot. I'm like, yeah. Do you know any female directors? Oh. Yes, I do. And I gave him a list of female directors. But for that minute, I thought, oh, I'm going to pitch on the project. There's never been a better time to be a female filmmaker or a female-owned company. Just because, like affirmative action, they're going to say, let's look, instead of 3 directors, let's look at a 4th director, and let's make sure it's a person of color, it's LGBTQ, make sure it's not somewhat straight old white male. And that's a good thing for everything, because rising tides lift all ships, right? The more diverse, I'm on a tangent, but I mean all this. The more the variety of stories that we see and hear in commercials, it pushes the agency to write better stories. It pushes old white guys to come up with a different way of looking at things. And I think it can bring people together. I personally think that commercials it's not pure art, but it's not pure commerce. It's art funded by commerce. When a director, like I have friends, they go, you know, I had to shoot the product shot, took hours. I go, of course you had to shoot the product shot, you know, the shoe, the hamburger, the soup, whatever, the box with a logo on it. That's what paid for the heart-touching story. When I did Happy Meals, the shot of the Happy Meal paid for the comedy with the kids falling down. So you want to respect that process. But I get back to you two, start a company and just get out there, because you're going to concurrently shoot stuff and get better, not show everything, no points for volume, points for quality, not quantity. Put 3 things on a website that are great versus 12 stupid things. Okay? Got a little passionate here at the seminar. Right? Okay? So the rep submits the director to the agencies, or the agency producer asks for the reels. So you really want to be on the bottom. You want the agency producer to call your company or you directly saying, I have a spot for you. That's the end game for this. The agency producer shows your reel to the creative team, the art director, the copywriter, the creative director at the agency, and they decide who they're going to bid. So it's usually 3. And then you get sent the boards. That's kind of the win. That's getting an opportunity to direct. So the agency is going to bid you, and that's the game. Okay? So to summarize, it's the reel, the revenue, the relationships. If you want a career for 20 plus years, 30 years, you're going to have repeat clients, repeat business, because they come back every year. Sometimes, I got a guy, talk about being in a box. Okay. You don't have to be just in one box. You could be in 3 or 4 boxes. One time, I did a couple of kids spots, one with Valley Toyota, one for the New York Post, of all things, but it had 20 kids in it. So I said, let's do an experiment. I told my rep, by the way, I had an epiphany over the weekend. I want to be a kids director. Okay? Just an experiment. She goes, really? Are you being serious? Yeah. I am a kids director. Now, I only told the New York rep. The rest of the country thinks I'm doing comedy dialogue with grown-ups and cars and whatever. She goes, okay. So she sends out 4 spots, all with kids, all with comedy, and I got Dannon yogurt with kids. I got goldfish crackers with kids running around. All of a sudden, I gave my sales team, if you will, direction and said, I'm a kid, that's my box. One time I did a Kellogg's Finding Nemo cereal, which was some other cereal that they repackaged. The same little marshmallow things. And we had a shark, and it was like this giant puppet shark, and it ate the cereal. It was really kind of clumsy and everything. But it was an anthropomorphized shark teenager eating the cereal. The spot does great, okay? I never see the creative director again until 8 years later. I get a call. He goes, hey, Jordan, listen, I just been working with this day trading company called Ditto Trade, and it's like an app for trading. I'm like, okay. Well, I sold a concept that it's going to be a bear and a bull as day traders in the office. So I want people in suits, but I want really high quality bear suit and bull suit, and they're talking to one another just like they're people. And when I thought, hey, anthropomorphized life-size characters, I know the master. I got to call Jordan Brady. That to me is so bizarre because I'd only done one spot, but he had such a good time and he loved the way it turned out. That was the box he put me in. And I've gone on to do, like, it was on the reel to get Thrive. Oh, you've worked with things that aren't people. So the rest of the world, there's another box I'm in. So you can control how you market yourself. I mentioned boot camp. So does anybody have any questions? I could go on to another. I want to do this one for you guys. Before that, any questions? Anybody need to stretch? We got one guy asleep. Okay, question, yes.
So what makes a great reel?
What makes a great reel?
I mean, what are the agencies looking for? Something very creative, something with a low budget, something, or you send 3 different things?
That's a great question. What's a great reel? A great reel is 4 to 7 spots that all speak to the project they have right in front of them at that moment in time. And it has the same tone of humor or not humor, the same tone of sincerity. It doesn't matter about the budget. It depends on what that creative, when I say creative, I mean the storyboard or the brief, the script. It's usually 1 page. If a script is more than a page, it's not a 30-second commercial. It's like, okay, they've got problems. If you send the same reel out for every project, it's harder to get work because they go, well, I mean, she had one spot that was kind of like what we need. They're looking to say, she has exactly what we need in this script. I love that. Even if it's one spot that's relevant and the rest are you, they should all be in that same box. Does the box metaphor make sense? Okay. So the answer isn't a reel should be this or that. It should be relevant is what the reel should be. And it should be your best stuff. If you only have... My wife did her first spec spot in 2010. I got a script from an agency that had the client Bridgestone tires. And I said, give me an old script. And this is a secret tip. If you know anyone in an agency, get a script that they didn't sell that was top notch. Because often we filmmakers are not as good at the art and craft of making a commercial script as we are filmmaking, bringing that script to life. Okay? So I got my wife a script. She knocks it out of the park. We spend about $20,000, which would be half that today because of technology. This was on film and things. We got favors, but we still spent 20 grand. The spot takes her to Cannes in France for this ad agency thing. She gets awards. She's in magazines. We send the one spot, And people go, oh my God, I love that spot. We want to talk to her. Send the other stuff. Oh, we don't have the other stuff. We only have the one spot. Oh, well, I can't show my client Advil. Oh, we're going to hire the director that's done one commercial. So if I were planning your career, I would say, let's make 3 spec spots, which is really 5 because 2 of them sucked. Because we threw the sucky ones away. And we're going to show the 3, and someone is going to give you a chance. But don't send your short film. Don't send the montage. Maybe the trailer, because it was a hit on Netflix or whatever. But put that at the end, because there's a lot of feature directors that they get in the door and it's like, well, I mean, do they have the 30-second spot? So you want 30 seconds or 15 seconds. Doesn't matter if it was spec or not, it just has to look great and not look spec. Question, you had a question.
I just wanted to tell you I love your scarf.
You love my scarf. Thank you. Can I hug you? Thank you. I love your hat. Thank you, dear.
I did have a question though.
Okay, you kind of threw me off, but yeah. What is your question?
So, say for instance, you're talking about going through ad agencies. You show the organic personal hygiene product. There's some holistic products that you don't see in national commercials. Say I wanted to like create a commercial with a holistic product that you don't hear of. Is the only path to go through the ad agency? Do people ever go directly to networks and channels contacting them?
The question is, she knows a holistic product. Was it feminine hygiene product? Or just a bunch of products?
Your friend as an example.
Yeah.
It's various, not just vagina products.
Okay, yeah, not just vagina. You don't want to limit yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a great question. When you're starting out, if you had a relationship, it's like my friend Sherion in that commercial started a candle company. If she wanted to make a commercial and she called me and said, hey, I want to do it, we would do it together. Or if she wanted to direct, I'd say, why don't you do it for your own candle company? The last couple of years, I've had filmmakers come through the film school, and it's like, there are black-owned businesses that you can support, and they're one store like downtown. Do a commercial for them because they get a commercial, they put it on their Facebook site, you have a good-looking commercial. And when you're starting out, I would say, don't go for Quaker Oats. Go for Better Oats, which is some small mom and pop brand. Because no one's going to go, that's not a Better Oats commercial, because they're going to go, I never heard of Better Oats. Make it look like a real product. I'd rather see you do a fake product than a big one that you didn't have the money or resources to pull it off. And let's not confuse money and resources with a good idea. Because a good idea executed poorly does not win. A bad idea executed beautifully does not win. In fact, it hurts you like, wow, he screwed that one up. He had all the money in the world. Not funny, Jordan. Okay? That happened once. It was bad. So yes, go directly, to answer your question, go directly to that product. Or make it for them and send it to them because they're a small, natural shop. They probably don't have an ad agency. So, if anything, I can contradict myself up here. Don't go directly to these clients with your spec spot. But if it's that kind of company, a smaller brand, hit them up on Instagram. Hit them up on Facebook. I love High Brew Coffee. I don't know if they have that here. It's like cold coffee in a vending machine at some airports. And I put it on Instagram, and they sent me a case of High Brew Coffee. And I thought about, well, maybe I should do a commercial for them. And then I came to my senses, because I don't need that much coffee. Point is, you could just do a barter thing. Hey, I'll do a commercial for you. Give me some product. Give me $5,000. We did that with a young director at a local hot dog place in LA. I get free hot dogs for life. They paid $5,000. It looks like we had a budget of probably $70,000 because we shot it in 4 hours and it's talking hot dogs. So the idea, they didn't have a mouth on it. It was just we voiced it over. So the concept served his lack of budget. And the hot dog place, you know, they ran them on their Facebook. They paid for advertising for that, and it worked. Question over here.
Yeah, I got a question about the agency side. So you're obviously an established director, so you probably get a lot of creative autonomy on jobs. But I have a question about, you know, keeping in mind real and relationship. How do you deal with the ego of account managers at agencies sometimes trying to put their vision on a commercial while you're still keeping in mind your vision and managing that relationship? Do you typically fight harder for your vision, or do you just clients always right, sort of like whatever they want is what we're going to do?
That's a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. Everybody heard it? Okay, so as a commercial director, the agency signs off on your shooting boards and the client above them. But a lot of clients give the agency, they hand it over to them. So as a director, how do you assert your vision? You know, at the end of the day, it's like my daddy always said, he who pays the piper picks the tune. So at the end of the day, if it comes to fisticuffs, you have to bend the knee and go, okay. But as a filmmaker, at any level, you and I being equal with experience, okay, we have to go, I hear you. I just want to say one last time, it's not going to edit. You know what? It's really, like with the guy wearing the drama queen t-shirt. Were you here for that at the beginning? Like I said, I mean, you know, it was someone's idea. It was an art director's funny idea. And they go, it's really funny. And I go, it's funny, but what if he is a drama queen? Like, do we care? And if you make a case for it and you offer a solution, what if we do this? So I threw out a couple I designed. I photoshopped some t-shirts. I think offering a solution is always the best answer. And then it's also a balance of ego and humility on our part. Pat Finn, who I think is here. Pat Finn, are you here? Is that you up there? Pat Finn, everybody. Pat Finn is a tyrant on set, and he wants his way or the highway. You have these egos with some of the agency folks, and they feel like they hired an Uber driver director, and they want to do that. And you can say to them, look, hey, I work for you, but I'm looking out for you. I got your back. Some of the Jedi tricks that I use, I'll go, yeah, is there really time in the commercial for that idea? Or if you say this with a British accent, it's even better. It's really quite better this way, isn't it? And people go, yeah. Pat Finn taught an improv class yesterday in this very room, and he talked about listening. Everybody wants to be heard. So the best way to diffuse that situation is say, I hear you, brother. I hear you. You want the guy to wear the funny hat and go in? My fear for us as a team is you get in the edit and you're like, ooh, I wish we didn't put the funny hat on him. He's walking in saying a pretty funny thing. Maybe that's enough. I've actually pulled people aside, right? And said, hey, can I just talk to you? I just want to understand because we're not connecting. Another young director asked me the same question. I was working with on his first real commercial. And he works for Gary Vee, for VaynerMedia. And he had a nice big client. And we're working over Zoom and the phone. He calls, he goes, I'm going to do callbacks. The agency picked all of these people. I picked all of these people. There's only 2 people that overlap. What do I do? I go, call right now, like through your producer or call the agency producer and say, hey, we need to have a Zoom. And get on the Zoom and call it, like just throw cold water on it and go, hey, we're not on the same page with casting. So I want to learn what you saw in these 7 people that I missed. Because your people sucked. And they'll tell you, and you'll either A, learn what they liked, or B, convince them why they're wrong. There was a guy Pat Finn and I worked with. The man shall remain nameless. But you remember John, right? Yeah. He would always say, I just like their look. She wasn't the best actor, but I liked her look. And I would go, yeah, but we're not hiring lookers. We're hiring actors. Yeah, good point. Take her off the list. And it was just confronting that conversation. And commercial directing is certainly a confidence game. So it's balancing the ego and humility, and just being firm about what you believe in and being open that you're surrounded by smart people. So that was a long answer. You get bonus points for the answer. Wait, someone else was ahead of you. Yes. Oh, no, you had. Let her go. She didn't have one.
Oh,
yes.
I was just wondering, did you always want to be a commercial director? And what is your favorite commercial that you can remember?
Did I always want to be a commercial director? I didn't know that's what it was. I listened to Steve Martin records and wanted to be a comedian, and I was, but I also would race home to watch Bewitched. And it was a show where a guy married a witch, and he was a director, an art director, a copywriter. He was everything, right? And I loved his job, and I always loved jingles. Yeah. So when I worked at MTV and I worked at Comedy Central on camera, and I started falling in love with production, and they let me do promos. Like I would go on the road, they would say, shoot some promos. So I started producing and directing. Okay. So that's how I got into it, and I love it. Favorite commercial? Yeah. You know, it's funny. The Star Wars commercial, it was for Volkswagen a few years ago by director Lance Accord, and the little boy was like Darth Vader. Yeah. I think it's almost like a perfect commercial. Yeah. And then Pat Finn is one of my favorite commercials, where he's talking to, it's called You're Beautiful, and he's saying goodbye to his wife, but he's really saying goodbye to the car. And the way he does the turn and the way the wife, played by Kristen, she's like, are you talking to me or the Toyota? I just love that. I'm really proud of that one. I showed all your commercials before you got here, Pat. Yes, question.
Oh, mine was just back to like what she was asking.
About the scarf? I got the scarf at Bagram Air Force Air Base in Afghanistan for $5. That's a great story. So it has sentiment. It's like a blankie. So.
But to the like, if you do go directly to a company and say, hey, I have this idea, I want to make a commercial, or if you do have the spec commercial and it's a company that you can make that connection, how do you protect? Like, is there a simple little template or something? Like, I mean, if they're huge, they probably already have their thing. But like, how do you protect? Like, you show it to them and they're like, oh yeah, okay, cool, and then all of a sudden you see a commercial and it's your idea. Like.
Oh my gosh, it happens all the time.
Like, do you have something though that you say like?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No, you make more. You let it go. Okay. Pat and I were talking as comedians and an improv master, and when I was a stand-up, I had jokes from the TV writers that would come to the improv and sit in the back and take the joke, and you would see it on Friends. There's nothing you can do. You write more jokes. I had a commercial years ago for this casino. The guy's blurred out, the mob guy, and the newscaster says, "You're not scared of testifying?" He goes, "Why would I be scared? Why would I be scared? They can't see what I look like. They don't know what I sound like." And he leans out and takes a sip of coffee, and the blur's still there. And then he comes back to the blur, and then I had the blur like lag behind and try to follow him. Killed. Now I know that spot made the rounds because the reps were sending it around and everything. I've seen that spot 3 times. Could be parallel development. It's not the hardest thing to come up with. But that was the little urban spice that I put on, like, why don't we have the blur move and the thing. I've seen that joke done every 5 years. I did a spot that I didn't write, these construction workers jumping rope, and it was when 6 seconds, you could skip the ad. It was like 2018. And it was like, tough guys don't skip, the Ford Super Duty, blah, blah, blah. So they're skipping rope, and we show the car, and they're singing like lolly, lolly, something. It was funny. Like last year, 2020, people that I know that I worked with, and they had worked with those same creatives, like, agency people bounce around. The same idea was for Airheads candy. I'm calling it out. This is on the web. Are we streaming right now? Is this live? Calling these people out. And it could be parallel development. It could be like when I was a stand-up, I know the influences that I would absorb like a sponge. Like, do you know Brian Regan? Comedian? I think everybody's gone through a Brian Regan phase where you go, that joke seeped into your head. I read a whole movie called Dill Scallion about a country singer who breaks his foot and starts a popular dance craze. I was in editing when I realized that's a Flintstones episode. Ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah. So you can't protect yourself. You would love if you put your Nutri-Grain candy bar or breakfast bar commercial on the internet and Kellogg's gave you a cease and desist. You know, the opposite. They're like, you can't do that. We didn't pay you for that. That's our brand. If that happens to any of you, email me the spot, the link to the spot, and a photo of the letter. You will come on my podcast. We will get you great press out of the evil corporation trying to get you to stop your career with, by giving you a cease and desist letter. So, what is our time frame? We're just going rogue here at the festival. No.
Oh, it's 4:12.
It's 4:12. Yeah. Are we? You guys want to wrap up? You got a little more in you?
What's the name of your podcast?
What's that?
What's the name of your podcast?
Keep going.
Keep going.
What's the name of your podcast?
My podcast is called Respect the Process. It's about commercial filmmaking. Any other questions? I'm going to go through this. This I think is important. This is like my wife's least favorite presentation. It's one of my favorites for creative people. Embrace your duality. I find it effective to compartmentalize my brain, to know when to be who and who to be when. Like on set and at home, I'm sometimes different people. At home at 11 o'clock, I can be talking to the ad agency and a PA will come up and put a triple vanilla cappuccino in my hand while I'm talking. I am king. And then I go home and it's like, there's a bug in the bathroom. Can you make grilled cheese? Like people in my house, especially when the kids were younger, could care less about how cool it was to be on set and how I got my way with every shot and we came up with a cool shot and the actor ad-libbed. They don't care. So as I'm walking, I get out of the car after a shoot and the adrenaline is pumping. It was a great day and you're high on filmmaking. As I go up the little walkway, I say hi to the gardener and the butler. And I get to the front door and I take a breath and I click and I go in and I go, how was your day? Hey, you had the test. Did you get the new job? Like, I just make it about them because I know I could go on for hours like recalling every shot throughout the day. And the family doesn't care. So that's one way to compartmentalize. The artist allows art to realize its purpose through her. The artist, actor, filmmaker, producer, director, shapes the unconscious of all mankind. I believe that. So it is sometimes necessary for the artist to sacrifice her own happiness for the ordinary human beings. That was by Carl Jung, I think is how you say it. No, Carl Jung. And I paraphrase a little bit, but I do believe like when I'm writing a treatment to get a job, my family understands that I'm going into the cave to try to get work. Or if I'm going on set, I'm going to come home late, I'm going to leave early. I'm a different dad than when I'm there on the weekend. So I do believe that sometimes, although I rarely missed a soccer game when the kids were growing up, always made it a point to be at the events. So I touched on this earlier, the commercial as an art form. To me, yes, commercial directing is a form of making art. It's usually the balance of art and commerce. There's like that Volkswagen spot every frame is just so beautiful, but it's clearly selling Volkswagen with some sort of Darth Vader side thing. So as a filmmaker, I have to know when to, I'm an artist, I'm a storyteller, I'm a technician, I'm good at my craft. But then I have to market my career. I have to post the new work on Instagram. I have to hustle to get work. If the budget's too low, I have to make deals. You can't do them both at the same time effectively, in my opinion. So on prep days, when I'm formulating the plan, I'm a little different than the shoot day when I'm executing a plan. And you all might like this one. When I go to a scout or have a pre-pro meeting, or now Zoom has taken over our lives. So I'll say, let's do a Zoom with the key grip and the sound person and the camera person and the producer. Let's all do a Zoom. It'll take 15 minutes. I just want to get an update from the production designer on where we are and see how we can help. So what I do is I tell my team, hey, until the shoot day, I'm wearing my collaboration hat. I'm in collaboration mode. I will wear the hat of collaboration. Give me your ideas. What do you think? Let's do this. I will continue to wear the collaboration hat until everything falls apart on halfway in the morning on shoot day. I will take off the collaboration hat and I will wear the benevolent dictator hat. So on set, if like the camera woman says, hey, do you want to try a new shot over here? I'll go, love it, let's try it. And then after lunch, we're an hour behind. Hey, everybody, collaboration hat coming off, dictator hat, put the camera here, let's go. I mean, I am a task master, totally different person. My point is, I'm telling people that I'm going to change in 30 seconds. So don't second guess, is he being funny? No, I'm telling you, you're going to put the camera here, I'm not going to move until it's there. And I'll hold my hand like that. It's kind of a dick mode, but it gets things done because we're responsible. So you want to compartmentalize your departments. You have to, as a director, you have to be able to talk to the stylist, the production designer, the sound department. Each department needs to get your undivided attention as if their department is the most important thing about the movie. Would you agree with that, Bill? Yes. Beyonce uses compartmentalization. When she goes on stage, I saw in a documentary, she becomes Sasha Fierce. Okay? So eliminate your job roles as you get to the shoot day because you're all these things, filmmaker, salesperson, writer, producer, you edit for the editor. You're the captain of the SSU. You have to produce for your producer. I have to tell people about my rep. I have to explain the feeling I want for the DP. I sometimes edit shots either on paper or after the shoot for the editor. I'm just in it 100%, but on the shoot day, just be the director. And like we were talking about your new company, pick who's going to direct. The other one supports her on the shoot day as just the director. The director-producer is possible. You can wear both hats. Something will suffer. Because when I'm shooting, I don't care if lunch is ready, if the lunch truck is late, or how many chairs we're going to need. I'm not producing. I may have produced up to that day. I've even hired someone for the day to handle the bullshit that I don't want to deal with so I can just be the director. Okay? Don't pick up the sandbag unless you're on a boat. What this means is the crew has their function and you should not be helping. If this is counterintuitive to being a nice person, hey, let me help, let me help. The crew doesn't want the director to help clean up. A lot of them aspire to be in your position. And a young person said to me one time, please don't help pick up the trash. Why not? He goes, because when I'm the director, I want to earn the right to not pick up trash too. And it sounds kind of weird, but it is the hardest thing. Just be the director, allow others to help you, and that's how you'll succeed. It's also more valuable for me at the end of the shoot to say goodbye to the client, like the Clorox people that flew in from Chicago. I want to get the next job because guess who hires everybody on the crew? The commercial director. Unless the producers, you tell the producer, bring your people, the line producer and the executive producer of a company will go, hey, we booked the Clorox job, who do you want to work with? And I pull out a call sheet, I give my friends. I found someone on Vimeo or YouTube, DP's real, I want to work with her. So allow people to do their work. Trust me, friends want to help you, they want you to succeed, and you have to delegate to elevate. Almost done with this one, guys. Don't be an asshole. Be the leader. Be decisive. make time the common enemy for all of us. Don't make the client the enemy. Don't make the agency, like, don't go to your crew and go like, this client, they're an asshole. They're the ones that paid, they made it all happen too. So make time the enemy. I like to say this one, I am a conduit for our success. Okay? The dualities of pros are, your family will understand you're immersed in filmmaking, and people will understand how seriously you take it. The cons are people will think you're a freak. And to have a career, you want to somewhat develop a cult of personality. And this is somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but I do a podcast. I like doing seminars, Q&As with colleges. By the way, if anybody knows a community college that, with a filmmaking program, I will give my online masterclass for free to the film department, and we'll do a Q&A. We'll talk afterwards. Yeah. And we'll do a Q&A over Zoom with all the students, and they can have it for free, okay? I like doing that. It brings me joy to teach. I learned today from you all and your questions, but I like to think that it also builds into a personality, and I will publicize it. I will put, things on Instagram or Twitter or whatnot. You want to develop your charismatic authority in a natural way that's authentic to you. And this goes back to your question, young man, about like, yes, I have experience and I have a bit of swagger with the agency and confidence to like I've had people hire me that are younger than my children. And so with deference to them, I want to let them know I'm working for them, but at the same time, don't mess with me. I got game. So it's a balance. It's a balance to not be a dick, but to be the leader. And that comes with time and experience. Therefore, as I said at the very beginning, the more you shoot, even with your friends. And if you go out with your friends, it can't be, and this is probably counterintuitive to Pat Finn's seminar, it can't be everybody's making this together. I think at the beginning of the day, everybody has to say, she's directing, I'm going to DP, you're going to produce, let's make this. Next week, you're going to direct, I'll produce, you cook the chili. Does that make sense, Pat? Yeah, absolutely. Pat, do you have any questions thus far?
I don't. I think it's great. I don't really have any questions per se.
Comments, criticisms?
No, one of the things that resonated was when you were talking about, coming home, and it's like, oh, I had this one shot, we did this one great stunt and all this stuff. Sometimes people love to hear about that, especially in the industry, and sometimes they don't. And it's almost like I equate it to somebody talking about their golf game. I had an approach shot 14 out of the sand. I almost made it. You're like, great. I don't know 14. But no, I think it's great. I think everything you're doing is fantastic.
Thank you. And we want to invite everyone at 6 o'clock. Questions? Any other questions before we wrap up?
Is it going to be in this theater?
Is it in this theater, Lynette?
I think it's in theater.
Okay.
The Jordan Brady experience is what I'm selling. That's the charismatic authority. Like, I want people to remember my work first, but oh, by the way, it's kind of fun, right? This is one of our boot camp alum, Brian Petchers. He was 24, okay, and this was probably so 5-6 years ago now. On my last shoot, I had you in my head saying, channel your inner Beyonce, because he faced the same question of, if I'm young, is the agency looking at me like I'm young? Well, here's the deal. If you got the job, they already approved you. If you're on a roster or you have a website with work and they said, yes, we want to engage with you, that's all the confidence you need. So you have to compartmentalize even and put the monkey brain down and know that you can do this. If you didn't believe you could direct the commercial, you wouldn't have gotten as far as being on set. And if someone can talk you out of doing this, you shouldn't do it. Okay? And Brian just did a huge BMW spot with KK, a popular singer. Is it KK or Kiki? Young people? Nobody? Anyway. So execute your vision, but make it a team win. Hey, we did it. I'm so happy. How can we make it better? This is like the keys to the kingdom right here. I do 4 or 5 takes, right? What do you want to do? Working with Pat, we do the script first because someone wrote the script and vetted the script. I was hired to do the script. Then it's, Pat, what do you want to do? Let him do anything. Let the guy, like I was telling this story. One time we said, okay, Pat, you're scared because the frog makes a frog sound and you're camping with your buddies. You run and get in the back of the RAV4, roll down the window and yell to your buddies like, hey, get in, we're all scared. And so we do the take. I go, okay, why don't you just put the window up and down and talk through the crack in the window and just say whatever you want to say. He went in and put the window up and down with 8 or 9 different ad-libs every time the window came down, that the assistant director had to nudge me and go, you know, he's going to go until you say stop. Like, the man's a machine. Like, we're still filming. I forgot we were filming. I'm just like, oh, this is a great show. This is a great comedy show we're getting. Same when he ad-libs, and I think some of the ad-libs are in the documentary tonight, where it's like, okay, you and Kristen, the wife, just why don't you say this, or I'll whisper to her, or he'll come up with a line for her, and you guys just go. And they'll do the take and go, you got another one? And Pat like steps out, steps back into the shot, says something new. And again, the crew is just all like, what's he going to say? We forget we're filming. So then I'll go over to the agency, let's say it's a non-Pat job, do a couple of takes, I'm very happy. And I'll say to the agency, hey, I'm really happy. What can we do differently? How can we make it better? We've got a few minutes. And if you tell them at the pre-production meeting, the day before the shoot or 2 days before the shoot, that you like to work that way, that also quells the a-holes. You can go, hey, here's how I like to work. Give me the first few takes. You're going to be in the video village going, this sucks. And I'm going to be at the monitor going, this sucks. And then the 4th take is going to be magical. And I'll come back to you and go, we got the 4th take. What do you want to do differently? I also tell them, hey, everybody doesn't have a great idea. So you all need to have one voice. And everybody goes, yeah, yep, one voice. We're going to do that. You know what? You're going to be the point person. We're going to channel everything through you. That's what they say the day before the shoot. Then on the shoot, it's like, I got an idea. Oh, I have one too. Can we do mine? What if we do more alts? So you have to be a leader in the village behind the scenes going, why don't you guys arm wrestle and see whose idea wins, because we can't do them. I wish we could do them all, but we don't have time. So I think that's, under promise, over deliver. So I will board usually 12 shots, sometimes just 9 for a 30-second commercial, definitely 9 for a 15-second commercial. And then secretly in my back pocket, I have 4 shots that I want to get. And I share those with the DP and the stylist and everybody else, except the team, the agency. Some of the agency knows. They're like, you got back pocket shots. Because you hate to be the guy that goes, we're going to do 20 shots. And then you only got 16 at the end of the day. I wish we could have got all 20 shots. But if you board 16 and you get the extra 4, it's like, we got extra shots. It's the same amount of work with a different mind shift. So live happy. And don't promise something you can't deliver on. This was something that I was lucky to work with Catherine Hahn, who I love. And I went to work thinking, wouldn't it be fun if she did dramatic readings from the owner's manual? So I didn't tell anybody except her in the morning. I told the DP, when we're in the shot through the window, I'm going to have her read.
The Chrysler Pacifica 2018 user's guide. The vehicles without wheel covers. Mount the road tire on the axle. Install the remaining lug nuts with the cone-shaped end of the nut toward the wheel. Lightly tighten the lug nuts. Scene.
Okay, here's the strategy. This shot is scheduled right before lunch so that nobody can get mad that I'm wasting time doing something that wasn't in the script. So I just tell her, hey, we're going to do this before we go to lunch. She's like, oh my God, I love it. I picked out some, you pick out one. She goes, lug nuts. Oh, I want to do the lug nuts. We shoot it. The creative director's my buddy. He comes over, he goes, what was that? I go, well, he goes, you planned it. I go, yeah. He goes, the client's freaking out. He thinks it should be the whole campaign. Do more. So we did another one. And then after lunch, we put the camera looking in the back seat where she was in the back seat doing some things with Cheese Whiz. And she goes, I want to do another reading. Now, how am I going to tell her no? So we give her the book. She does a couple more. And the agency and Chrysler finished 3 of them. They threw them on the web for a little while. And it was under-promising, over-delivering, a little bit of bonus. I show those on my reel just as often as I would show the whole spot with her picking up the kids from school. And it was so much fun. So go for what is possible, not just what is required of you. And that could be at any level, even if you're doing a spot for the local bakery. Just know when to take the mask off. Any questions? Question, hand up. You wrote it down.
I did. Because I was looking in your bio here, it says you do feature films, then you have the documentary coming up. Have you found that since now that you're established doing as a commercial director, if you wanted to, is it more difficult or is it easier to go into narrative and other forms of media?
As an established commercial director, is it easier to go back and do movies or TV?
Yeah, or like go back and forth.
I can't answer. I don't know. Because I had made a couple of critical flops of feature films in like 2000, 2002, and 2003. And I was doing commercials at the same time. So I would be on post on a movie and sneak to Vancouver to do a Burger King commercial. And when I didn't show up on time, for the right day on the fittings and they had to push them a day, the commercial got pissed at me. When I wasn't in the editing room, the movie people were pissed at me. So in 2003, I said, I am going to focus for 3 years. I left my agent at the prestigious William Morris Agency, is what it was called at the time. I said, I'm leaving. I'm not going to pitch on feature films anymore. And I'm going to do commercials for 3 years. And that turned into whatever the math is, 19 years ago. I mean, I've done my own documentaries, but I fund them, I get the funding, I edit them. It's like a creative sorbet for me. I will say that my lovely wife, I can't say my wife without Borat in my head. My wife just did her first movie. It's called Diamond in the Rough, starring Pat Finn, has a wonderful part in the movie. She's in editing now. She just shot in December. Definitely her commercial experience. And she had done a web series for Bumble. She had done PetSmart. Bridgestone even, helped. Nike Women. She did a whole campaign for Nike Women. And even though they don't look like what the movie looks like, the movie studio loved that she had a collaborative spirit, that she looked through life through that lens of, if she could work with clients and agencies, she would be good to work with on this movie. So I think that, and it just showed the breadth of her experience. So I think, yes, that would help. I am not the flavor of the month to go pitch a movie, and I don't have a story that I'm yearning to tell, right? So I have a hard time answering that one. Great question, though. Any other questions? Down here, front row. Nothing. Back in the back.
I was just going to say, building off that, would you advise against trying to work simultaneously then in the commercial world and the narrative world?
I mean, I would think if you focused on one and did the best, that it would work out a little better. It's much easier to come off of your feature and get commercials. Ted Melfi directed Hidden Figures, and before that, St. Vincent with Bill Murray and Melissa McCarthy. We were at the same company for years. I won't say he struggled to get commercials, but he wasn't working consistently as a commercial director. The minute that Hidden Figures hit, he can pick and choose what he wants. And I'm sure he still has to get on the phone and bid, but it's like, you know, it's a name. So I think it's easier to go from a feature to start doing commercials once you're established rather than the other way. Yes, question.
From a director's point of view, and so I'm a writer,
Mm-hmm.
and what is the best way to query directors to get them on board with something you've written?
To do a feature.
Feature or TV series, because I do both. But.
Okay. It's a very controversial question that will make people leave the auditorium. Look at that. You're clearing the room, walking the room with that question.
I'm the second AD. I agree with you. Leave your shit at home. I know exactly what you're talking about on that, man.
Thank you, young man. Thanks for coming. Thank you. Thank you. I was just kidding.
Well, that's what I'm trying to avoid. So I'm asking from your perspective, what is the preferable method in that role?
Show them you're real. What have you had produced? What are your relationships? And do you have the revenue? Do you have the money? Like if people pitch me projects, do you want to do this? I was attached to a feature right before COVID hit. And I was surprised, like, why do you guys want me? They go, because you can nail this and this is our budget and you have the experience. I go, do you have the money? Yeah. Okay, I'm in. I don't have the wherewithal to funding. There are people in this room that could help you. I feel like I'm not the guy to ask. Because, yeah.
You know, from that point of view, it's always helpful when you're hearing, you know, when you're hearing how somebody would perceive a pitch to you to come on board with a project, or from that point of view. So.
Well, okay, I will say this. I'm sorry I cut you off, but this is all I know. I believe in the eventizing of things. I love and thank you, Chandler International Film Festival, because I wasn't going to come until I found out it was international. I mean, we have people from Scottsdale. It's international. If you have the money, you'll get a director, right? Because if you don't and you're trying to build it, I don't know how to do it. But I believe in the eventizing of things in life. I like this seminar. I like this event. That's why I do the boot camp. It's March 5th. There's about 6 spots. Because my first film, I took out a loan against my insurance, took out a second mortgage. I paid for most of the film, did the old, this is like in late 90s, right? Shot a bunch of film, edited it, went to investors, got more money, shot stuff, edited it. It took 3 or 4 months to shoot 30 days. That's what I was a writer, director. I wrote and directed the motion picture. Once I was done, it was event screenings, get people out, have a blast. That attracted producers. So as a writer, if you could eventize something, a reading of your screenplay with friends reading it, I like to put a charity element into my events. Lynette and I were talking about screening for a local children's hospital just for fun, just as a way to raise money. With where I got the scarf, bringing it back to the scarf, I Am Battle Comic, available on iTunes or wherever you stream, is a documentary where I went around with comedians and we did stand-up for the troops. It changed my life to the point where I came back, edited the film. It's about 80 minutes, 85 minutes. We toured. We did the Harkin in Phoenix. That's where I met Lynette. And we did 12 cities in all. And to date, given away 100% of the gross. So raised close to 50 grand off of 12 cities, like one-night events. And now it lives on streaming. That has attracted people to say, will you produce my documentary? Hey, do you want to direct this documentary? I usually say no because they have to have the money. So if there's something you can do as a writer that is an event, and I believe that people like being in a room, we were chatting about this, people like to laugh together, people like to learn together, people like electrons, we like to feel the vibe in the room. When I saw Spider-Man 2, new one, what number is it? It's like 12. The new Spider-Man. I'm with my son, my grandson, Gulp, and another dude. The theater's packed, and when Andrew Garfield came out, the place erupted. When Tobey Maguire came out, when Doc Ock came out in the beginning, oh, spoiler alert, they're in the movie. The place erupted. And I don't think that happens in the living room. So what does that have to do with your question? Not a lot. But anyway, if you create something where you can get people out and you have this script, or it's a stage reading of a couple of scenes, and it goes for a breast cancer awareness. By the way, I'm looking for a director. Now you're putting the tentacles out there. You're putting the energy out there. And I'm kind of hippie on that front. Putting the good vibes out attracts people. You never know who. Just coming to a film festival, you never know who you're going to meet. We started a company tonight. Send your work to what's the name of the company? 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Moonchild Productions. Go with films. Moonchild Films. Content. Moonchild. Just Moonchild. Yes. Moonchild. Okay, we're going to wrap up. Any other questions? Thank you all for being here. This was a blast. Hit me up with anything. Yeah. Jordan at commercialdirectingfilmschool.com. Mention the Chandler International Film Festival with your questions so I know the context. Thank you. What? Oh, yeah, please. If you have schools, let me know. And who I can get in touch with.
It's Scottsdale Film